All right, welcome back, welcome back. Turn your neighbor, give him a high five and say thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome. And thank you, Monica, for guaranteeing us 100,000 APV. No pressure. All right, guys, well, we're going to have a fun little training here today. We're going to go through a few of these. So what this is based on today, guys, is probably one of the greatest books for personal development for anything, just for life. I think they should be teaching this one in school. It's the book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And for some reason, some people don't even like the title, and that's why they don't read it. But this is something, and just take from that, so that's what we call it, How to Make Friends and Build a Network. But guys, honestly, this is something that I used to listen to audiobooks. I used to read this maybe once every 3 months because you can get your skills set up, because we forget, if you're in a business of sales or a business of anything, or just in life, you want to have your life a bit better, there's so many nuggets in this book. It's unbelievable. Now, it's by Dale Carnegie, who is the son of Andrew Carnegie. And Andrew Carnegie is the guy that got Napoleon Hill to go travel the world and write the Bible on business, which was Think and Grow Rich. And so this is the son learning everything from his dad about this kind of stuff. The richest man in the world at the time, pretty much brought all the steel to all of North America. So guys, this book here is just like, honestly, a shortcut to actually being understanding how to just make people happy around you. Because sometimes what happens here is, because personal development is a very unique thing, right? Because you meet a lot of people in sales or in business, but then you meet them, you're like, wow, this guy's a real piece of junk, right? Because they don't know how to treat people. And there's actually people in this combined company that you're just like, wow, how is this a top producer? It's because they're only focusing on sales and getting it done, right? What we're doing here in District 6 is not just to be a great salesperson for combined, we're also just a great salesperson and a great person all throughout, so that you can have businesses, you can have a healthier life, right? So we're trying to get that all, and that takes a little bit longer, but it's definitely worth the wait. And there's also a lot of people that do personal development. I have a buddy of mine that he thinks personal development is watching stuff about the Illuminati and all these types of things, right? And he starts always telling me like the world's, upside down and it's flat or whatever. He's trying to prove the point to me. But again, you have to understand there's a fine line. There's a lot of people that take personal development, but it doesn't do anything. The fine line in between is you do the personal development, you learn from it, and you put it into action. That is what we're doing here as much as possible. So even with all our trains, we have some of the best trains. Guys, I'm telling you right across the board, everybody knows in this company, how good we have our trainings, our speakers, our people on our team. They're blown away with what we have, right? And then sometimes we miss out on it. So making sure you guys are taking notes today, because this stuff is 100%. If you don't make everybody around you love you, there's a lot of nuggets in here, because I'm always improving, right? Because I sometimes have an opinion once in a while, and you don't know how much you can hurt somebody, right? So I was just bugging my buddy the other day, just, straight up honest, not really like me all the time, but he's just like, oh, I got a $300 bonus. I'm like, oh, what are we gonna, buy the Edmonton Oilers now, And I didn't think about it because I'm just kind of joking around, but that may have meant something to him in a big, big way, right? So we have to be so crucial understanding not to give out opinions, not to actually say things. And guys, it's a world, and I say it too, we all want to tell people what is right. The world of now is no one ever wants to be wrong in anything they ever do. So they'll fight with it. So for us now, it's to learn that that's most people. And if they're not, gradually trying to grow and learn this is where we can have an advantage of when you're sitting down and talking to people. Because most of the time they want to talk about themselves all the time. So guess what? The best thing about our product here, guys, is that if you talk to somebody for 5 minutes, they're going to tell you two things somehow. One, some type of pain that they're having, some sickness that's happened and occurred, or some type of money problem. Guaranteed within 5 minutes. And guess what we fix both on this one? Those two things. So if you listen, instead of just pitching all the time, that's what people lose in business, you can just ask the right questions and they'll give you the answers with no time. So we'll get right into it today, guys. So make sure you guys are taking some notes, but also the stuff that I'm saying, we'll have some fun with it. We'll do a little bit of review in the middle and a review at the end. So the first step, guys, and this book is amazing, but the number one step is become genuinely interested in other people. Genuinely interested in other people. People can read if you're fake as quickly as possible. So you have to be genuinely interested in other people. And this is a crazy one, you have to be interested in other people. So today, this thing right here can destroy it so fast. I'm telling you right now, it is probably the most offensive thing in the world when you're talking to somebody and they just start texting. Because you know they're not talking. They're not listening to you whatsoever. It is the most disrespectful thing, right? And it happens all over the place. You know, even people doing speaking, like when we have people in here, if you're on your phone and you're doing that, you don't know that the speaker, you're actually hurting the speaker. Like I care too, I don't care. Like I'm gonna go no matter what, I'm gonna give you everything I got, I don't care. But if somebody else is up here for the first time and you're like scrolling, just checking out my Facebooks, just checking out my Instagrams, just checking out like that, it is a very high level of disrespect and you might not even know you're doing it because you're just like, oh, you know, I have attention span and I go do that. If you're paying attention, you're genuinely interested with everybody, it's almost like you have to be a chameleon with every single person because then you give them the undying need and attention, right? The person that's not a chameleon, that's just the same with every single person, is usually probably just doing all the talking, right? Because then they just have to be themselves and not actually listening. If you're actually listening to how I talk with Al, is totally different than how I talk to Randy. How I talk to Randy is totally different than how I talk to Paige. It's all different, right? So you have to understand that when you're talking to people, you have to be genuinely interested in what they're doing and give them your undivided attention. Because this little thing in the book here, it says you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. This is no joke, guys, because what's the secret? They love to talk about themselves. So why don't I ask questions? If you can just try and find actually being genuinely interested with them, everything changes. But if you come into any group or stuff like that, and you're just, you know, always talking about yourself, you'll actually probably alienate yourself. I mean, just think of your friends. You have that friend that cares and always listens and everything like that. Don't you love that person a little bit more? At the same time, you probably have those friends, probably real acquaintances really, that always just talk about themselves and they're always like, look at me, do all that kind of stuff. And you're like, oh, this person, right? Now here's the flip. Who are you? Are you the person that listens? Or are you the person that's always talking? It's a quick thing. And I definitely, as I'm always say this, I came from construction. I was an opinionated person. I'd be at the construction, I'd be like, oh, the world's bad. I'm like, you're damn right it's bad. And I would just go off on tangents because that's where the world was. And then this book kind of changed it. So understanding, being genuinely interested in other people can change everything. People are most interested in themselves. The word I is the most used word in the English dictionary. If you just listen to people talking, especially speakers, they're like, I did this, I did that. You're like, ooh, right? You can almost subconsciously can lose respect from it. But even if you just have a group photograph, you guys probably heard this before. When you look at a class photograph or a group photograph, who do you look for first? Yourself. So knowing that, that's what they're doing. So whenever they're sitting there, like, what is this about me? When you're sitting down with them, they're only caring, what is this person doing? Are they just trying to sell me something? Or how is it that this is for me? That's all they're ever thinking. What's in this for me? That's it. People love people who admire them, especially hearing it third person party. So this is not in the book, this is what I put in here extra. You know how nice it is when you hear somebody else come up to you and say, you know what, let's say Paige comes up to me, she's like, you know, I was just talking to Randy the other day and he just thinks the world of you. When somebody says that and it comes from like a second level, how amazing is that feeling? How much do I like Randy even that much more because he went out of his way to say that? And what Paige has done is also made a connection between that too. So it's kind of already set up this likability part, right? So that's how convenient it is. So when you're out there networking, you got to be knowing that you're talking good about everybody, right? It's so easy to talk about the negatives, right? Martin and I were actually, somehow he showed up at the gym the other day, and we're just talking about, you know, what we're saying and all that kind of stuff. We're talking about, because he used to be a mechanic, and this person, and he doesn't like a certain type of car. And it reminded me of saying this, Martin, but he goes, this lady was like looking at getting a Nissan. I said, don't get that. It's the crappiest cars ever. Well, right? No, but it is his honest, true opinion. He worked on cars, right? And he's 100% probably right. So I said, okay, well, let's just not try to offend anybody here. Let's bring it back. How could we say that in a nice way? Let's look for what's nice about the Nissan. He's like, well, they're actually, if the engine is working, they're actually dependable for 20 years. I'm like, fantastic. Maybe lead with that. And then also talk about, and he's like, actually, they're nice, slick looking cars. Lead with that. So much easier because now you're not alienating anybody ever out there. You're always just talking in positive and positive. So we'll talk more about that. But hearing it third person, when you're networking, always talk highly of other people because you don't know where it's going to come back around, especially in the networking world, right? You guys always hear people always talking highly of Dan. That's because Dan's going out there and talking highly of everybody else. It doesn't come that he's just this amazing saint of a person. It's because he's always talking and doing these types of things. Also works in business. So I don't know if you guys, in the book it talks about the Duke of Windsor. Now the example of this is the Duke of Windsor, back a long time ago, it was a big deal that the royalty would actually travel around the world. So he was going to South America. So what he did for, I think it's between 6 and 9 months, he actually learned the Spanish language. And he learned it and he practiced every single day. So because he knew he was going down there, when he went down there, he did his entire speeches in Spanish. And to this day, they always talk about this person in South America because he went out of his way above and beyond, because he could just come up there and say some certain things and do his little hand wave, right? And then get somebody to translate it. But he said, I care about these people so much that I'm going to learn the language when I go down there and speak. How great is that, right? So they will forever love him for that because he went the extra mile. You know, it's just that extra little bit. And then birthdays. Facebook, the greatest thing about Facebook is it tells you when it's somebody's birthday. All you have to do is go, happy birthday, and then you can just throw an emoji in. And you don't even know what that can do to light somebody's day up. What if they only have, you know, so many contacts, but they got 25 birthday messages and you were one of them? I'm telling you, it can shine their day up. By just using these little small things, a birthday is so powerful. It's their day. So saying happy birthday, doing a private text, anything like that is always a big, big way of doing things. So understand that this is huge. Using Facebook and all that kind of stuff. You see somebody's name and they'll be like, oh, I got 6 people to wish happy birthday today. Pfft, who's got time for that, right? Every single time, just go happy birthday, click, happy birthday, click. And you could light up their day. And the next time they talk to you, they could just love you that much more. These are just small little tips, guys, but I'm telling you, it is so crucial out there. If we want to make more friends, we must greet people with animation and enthusiasm. So obviously making friends and stuff like that is a little bit of an art, but you have to have animation. You want people to want to talk to you, right? Somebody's just, you know, hey, my name's, oh, hey, what's your name? Zach? What's your name? Mark? I guess we're enemies now because our names don't match, right? Like what? But I can just be like, hey, how's it going, Zach? Hey, how's it going, Mark? He'll mimic it as quickly as possible. It's everything. You can walk into businesses. I mean, I watch online, even Jordan Belfort talking about it, and he's just like, I can walk into a business, and he goes, other people walk in like, hi there, my name is Jordan Belfort, and I'm with, and out. But if he said he walks in, he goes like this, hi there, my name is Jordan Belfort. How are you guys doing today? Perfect. So I'm here with a mortgage specialist, and he just walks through. People are like, oh no, and he just kept walking through. You can steamroll past people because enthusiasm is actually contagious. Animation is contagious. Like, okay, this person knows what they're doing and has confidence. Now, disclaimer, you can also go way over the top. Hey, Zach, you know, and then across the room, and it's just like, whoa, this guy's over the top. I'm amazing, I'm amazing. They're like, okay, this person's pretty crazy. But you've seen like this, right? So you got to be careful with this, right? Practice in the mirror, talk to people, find out, right? Debrief. Okay, maybe I was a little bit over the top with Zach today. Maybe tone it down a notch. How did I know? Because he turned and walked the other way, right? Really embarrassed. So guys, obviously having fun with this, but if you really understand, having animation and enthusiasm can really, really change your business. But you have to, that's why you practice your presentation and film yourself. Because you might just be sitting there looking grumpy and all that kind of stuff. Again, we are selling insurance and people really don't have the best opinion of insurance. But that's the greatest opportunity because I really believe this is a new type of insurance that's never been seen before. So act like it is. Oh, I mean, when we talk like pages like this, I know, I didn't like insurance either. That's animation that's going up and that's agreeing with them. And then they're going to start to move into that direction. You can have a lot of fun with people, right? And it's just, you want them to become your friend and you just want to steam past anything that's negative. You don't want to be like, I don't really like insurance. Yeah, tell me about it, you know? Can we count the ways? There's probably this. Actually, you know what? I'm out. This company's crap too, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what people are saying, but you have to just address it and then move forward in such a positive way. But in person and on the phone, guys, if you can learn anything of this, we're going to go into the next slide here, but on the phone, making sure you guys are walking around, energy's up, because sometimes if you're sitting on the phone, people can hear the energy, right? I remember we were sitting here with Dan and we're making phone calls and Dan's just like this, hey, how's it going? He's like, great, how are you doing? He's like, great. I know you don't know me right now, but I just got your referral. I'm like, she's like, what? Like, he made it look like they were best friends. If you can make that online, on the phone, that's how you're going to change it. But if you're like, hey, how's it going? I got your name from Paige. Like, it's what? What's going on? Peter's like, I don't really want to be excited about that, right? So those are huge, huge steps towards it. And make sure you're practicing. Practice with people in the office. Find out where, ask them, hey, how's my presentation? Am I making a big difference, right? Guys, somebody asked me, like, Mark, you talk to everybody different? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, that's draining, hey? I'm like, yes, it totally is. And when you go network, and I'm an introvert, when I go network, I'm like, right? And then you go. But then you're up and down because it's your first impression. It's everything when you start to talk to people. And if you're low energy, you can't be too high, but you also want to be making sure you're making the right introductions. Smile. I love this one. It's actually like a chapter in the book, guys. Action speaks louder than words. And a smile says, I like you, you make me happy, and I'm glad to see you. Just read that again. A smile says, I like you, you make me happy, and I'm glad to see you. Don't you want your clients to actually feel the same way? When they're smiling, you know that things are going well, right? So if that's the way, you've got to smile all the time, because it is so contagious that you're always smiling, right? And we're going to talk about in a second here, but dogs and babies. Dogs and babies make people smile all the time. And how much better is like, oh, look at this little baby, and the baby does that little smile, and you're like, ah, you know, and like all that kind of stuff. And dog is always wagging their tail, and you're like, oh, I love dogs, right? People love dogs and babies because it puts smiles on your face. So understanding, okay, let's use this for business. Am I smiling enough, right? Because, and also a little point here, not a grin, but a sincere smile that comes from within, right? So not like, you know, you're just doing like, Mark said to smile the whole time, and you're just looking all weird, right? So there's a line of making it authentic, like that you want to be there, right? You're genuinely happy of a person. Like, honestly, film yourself doing your presentation with no smiling, and then film yourself doing your presentation with a smile. It will change your presentation in 10 seconds. You look at him like, oh my goodness. A smile can light up the camera. That's why our teeth are white. They just pearl, shines, you're happy. But if you're the whole time, like it's no, like that kind of stuff, you can light up a camera all the time. You'd be like, oh, that's a wonderful smile, because it comes from within, right? People who smile tend to manage, teach, and sell more effectively, and to raise happier children. Example, phone companies. So a lot of good phone companies, they get people to stand up, and they get people to say everything with a smile. You guys know what I'm talking about? When you get a phone call from somebody, and you know that they're not smiling, you can see it, you can feel it. So right, it's just like, hi there, or you just like, hi there, I'm with Combined Insurance. Ugh, doesn't sound sexy, right? But it's like, hi there, I'm with Combined Insurance. My name is Mark Andrews. It's just different from everything else in life. So they actually teach phone companies to be smiling the whole time, because it actually comes through on the phone. So if you're making your phone calls, just even smiling, it sounds weird, that comes right across on the phone because you're having fun with it. You're wanting to make friends with them. If a smile does this, it makes people say, I like you, makes me happy, and I'm glad to see you. Why wouldn't you do that in everything in business? So it sounds so funny that we're talking about smiles today, but this is huge. Watch your presentation, watch how you talk to people and stuff like that, right? It's like Guy Sauvé said, you know, he's like, I'm happy. He's like, well, the old president was like, well, why don't you tell your face, right? Because he's always like this. And he's like, oh. So you got to be smiling because it's so contagious. If you start smiling, other people smile. Little disclaimer, women, you have to be a little careful sometimes. Or who you're smiling at. But a Chinese proverb is, a man without a smiling face should not open a shop. Right? Shouldn't even open up a shop if you're not happy about this. Guys, enthusiasm, animation, and smiling can just change your whole business around. It sounds so silly, but when we say 80% of sales is confidence, likability, and trust, we're not joking, because this stuff here, when you sit down with somebody and you're smiling, they're gonna naturally smile. If your energy is great, they're naturally gonna be great, right? Some of the best salespeople are just people that are listening and they're always smiling and in a good mood. Boom. That's what a smile kind of looks like. So practice. But but it's definitely huge, guys. Okay, and then this last one here before we get into a little bit of an action list here is remember that a person's name to that person is the sweetest and most important sound in any language because it's universal. Al's name is Al in you know, all different languages. Zach's is Zach in all different languages. It's the sound that you know and you hear the most, and it is the sweetest, most understanding compliment there is. So understanding that, using somebody's name is so powerful. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I can't remember people's names. Well, that's not going to help by saying that, right? So you've got to start to want to remember people's names. So there's a guy in the book named Jim Farley. He could remember up to 40,000 names. He would know what they do, their family, the occupation, all these types of things. Now, he was working in a political campaign for different presidents and whatnot, but this is what he would do. He'd go on the road and he knew everybody's names, the family, and he would have these genuine conversations. And he got so many people elected to different senates and everything like that because he could do this. But he said this in his write-up, understood that people care about their name more than any others combined. It's their name. If people understand that it's I, look at the photograph, so it's Paige. When she hears Paige's name, it feels good. If you sometimes you get left out, you know, if like, let's say we're doing, you know, somebody's in front of the room, like sometimes speakers say it and they're like this and don't say somebody's name, they're like, oh, why didn't you say my name, right? And then that kind of thing, right? Remember that name and call it easily and be paid a subtle and a very effective compliment. Remember, when you're saying their name all the time, it's not like you're giving them like the world, but to them, it's subconsciously a compliment all the time. But forget it or misspell it, and you may have placed yourself a sharp disadvantage. So again, you might have to take some time to practice what somebody's name sounds like. Find out what it is. If it looks like a tricky name, you don't want to just say, you know, something you can't pronounce and just bomb it, right? Right? Zach's looking at me, right? And I'm like, but it is, you got to be very careful. Now, again, I'm going to give some tips on the next one, what they say in the book, and there's a lot of people out there, but just try to be understanding that using their name. So when you're sitting down with somebody, repeat their name all the time. You've got their name, you found it out, just continue to say, oh, Zach, I love your, you know, your occupation. Continue to say their name all the time, and it can really, really help out with your presentation. Andrew Carnegie said, if you can't remember names, you can't remember a significant part of your business. We're in the business of people, and when you sit down with somebody, it's the biggest thing to continue to remember their name and all that kind of stuff. They're your client. This is somebody that you want to write notes about. You want, every time you sit down with somebody, you want to write a little note. That's why we used to have cue cards for every single client that you have. Oh, but Mark, that takes so much time. That's the difference between a top earner and another person, because they're willing to put that extra time in it, the extra care, and they'll care and they'll love you that much more. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yep.
All right. So a little bit of an action plan with these, and then we'll get you guys to discuss this action plan, and then we'll come back and do the next three. First one. So greet people this week with animation and enthusiasm on the phone and in person. Be genuinely interested in people. So this week, just give it a go. Practice your presentations. Actually giving out that awesome smile animation. Try and do something a little bit different. They can maybe go over the top. Now again, don't go crazy with it, right? Good morning! Like you can be over the top with that, but you got to find what's your balance, who you are, but also at the same time understand this is a big part of sales. Smile at someone everyone, every hour, every day for 1 week, and discuss it next week. They actually did a study on this where people just actually walk around smiling. Their life just got better because everybody gives it back to them. But if you're sitting there miserable like this, like even when, sometimes I just, you just don't want to talk to people, so you put your head down, you're in a negative state. And I do that. I'm an introvert, so I know I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk to this person. I don't want to talk to this person. But then I'm actually putting myself more in a negative state. If I just turn to somebody and go like this, and this is all I have to do. Hey, how's it going? That's it. And they're like, hey, how's it going? It means everything to them, right? And it actually means even more to you because it actually puts you in a better mood. Remember names and make people feel important. So again, remembering their names is it's a subtle compliment. Be aware of the magic for remembering a name. The name sets an individual apart. It makes him or her unique to all others. So there, different genders, race, all that different type of stuff. That's in groups, but there's only one Randy Spencer, and he knows that everybody in every language knows it's Randy Spencer. So understand how powerful that is. It deletes everything else out there that you can say, because sometimes people can say Randy Spencer is amazing. but it said in Spanish, he doesn't know what it said, but he heard Randy Spencer, and the person was enthusiastic with it. So understand how powerful it is. Remember a name. To help remember your name, if you do not hear a name distinctly, say, sorry, I didn't get the name clearly. And if it's an unusual name, ask, how is it spelled and how do they say it, right? So again, I do a lot of interviews. I want to make sure that I'm not, butchering a name, because that's the start of so hopefully a lot of times people just say their name properly, but I will talk to the sales. They're gonna be like, okay, what's the name? Perfect. And they said it, so I'm like, perfect. I actually memorize that, the most important thing, because I don't want to be on there and just say somebody's name, right? Because sometimes you look at a name, you don't know if it's written, if it's a guy or a girl sometimes, right? So you just want to be making sure that, and this is always a good way to just say, hey, sorry, I didn't, that's a really unique name. How do you pronounce that? Or how do you spell that? Just a nice way of going the extra mile with it. During the conversation, use it 2 or 3 times. So in your presentation, continue to say their name, because you don't know, it's a subtle compliment all the time. So instead of saying, hey, you, and all that kind of stuff, you start using their name as much as possible throughout the conversation. If great importance, when alone, write down on a piece of paper. This is for the name. If somebody's name is really a very big importance to you and you're having trouble remembering it, this is what they say in the book, actually. When alone, write down on a piece of paper, look at it, fix it securely in your mind, and then rip up the piece of paper. And I remember one person said to me, well, Mark, that doesn't make sense. You're just ripping up the name, you're gonna forget about it. No, there's an action towards it. Because you're going the extra mile with that name, you probably won't forget it ever again. Because you actually wrote it down, you fixed at it, and you're like this, okay, it's in my head, I ripped it up. Now you can't go back and look for it. It's not on a business card. You've ripped up the name, and it'll actually give it a little trigger in your mind. So there's some extra tips that they say in the book to doing this and to getting a really lot better with the names. All right, guys, so what we'll do right now is just honestly turn to your partner, and in Zoom, maybe we'll get Janelle just to kind of lead it, get a few shares of, what's one of these things or something that's come up for you. You're like, oh, okay, I want to put this into action. Maybe this could really help out. So we'll just take a few minutes and we'll come back. So just turn to a partner, or on Zoom, we'll get Janelle to run a few shares.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Who wants to go first with what, like a little nugget that they learned, something maybe that they already put into place and it's worked for them, or anything like that?
I can go, Janelle.
Hi.
Hi. So I was at my surgeon's appointment and surrounded by all kinds of people this morning, and was smiling with them and chatting with them about their different surgeries coming up and stuff like that. But what I find really annoying is, and I posted this in the chat, is when I'm sitting down with somebody in a coffee shop or something and they're looking around. And so what I do is I make a point to sit down and put all of my focus and attention on them and make eye contact with them the entire time, unless I'm writing something. But I will actually physically go through just shutting out the rest of the place, so that the person that I'm sitting with knows that I'm there for them 100%.
That's a good one. That's awesome. What I do with that is I just stop talking.
So I'll go.
And then they're like, oh, sorry.
I've been doing with our group, with our church, I've been involved with security and with being on the front end for the last 8 and some years. And it's so important to actually the smile and the greeting the people, and remembering their names and remembering a little something about their families, and that it is amazing how much you actually retain, and it's amazing how people will always remember, come up to you and say, hey, if you're not there, where are you, blah blah blah. So yeah, what Mark is talking about is very important. It works.
Mm-hmm. Yay, that's awesome. Thanks, Frank. Anybody else want to share something that they learned, what they're going to put into place that's positive, or something that they already do?
So it's Darlene here. One of the things that I do regarding names is I almost always have them spell it for me, because for some reason my brain just remembers things a lot better if I can actually have a visual of seeing how it's spelled. And another thing that I do sometimes as well is, especially if I'm having a hard time with a name, is I find something that something about them that makes the name pop out. So we have a neighbor named Brad who has the bad knee. So it's always Brad, bad knee. And it rhymes, and it's like, sometimes, like, he's not a close neighbor. I don't see him very often. So, I mean, when I do see him right away, I think Bad Knee rhymes with Brad. And so it's just one of those little tricks sometimes. Like, if you have a hard time remembering people's names when you hear
I
look
love that. That just
something
reminds
about
me-
them that stands out, and then make a little phrase in your head that gives you a picture that's more than just them, but something about them, and it really does help a lot.
That's amazing. That just, sorry, I'm laughing because of that. It's amazing. And it reminds me of The Office when Michael is trying to teach them how to memorize names. And that's what he does too. He's like bald head and tight pants. He goes, your name's David. He goes, yeah, that is my name. And he goes, perfect. And then he moves on. He just like makes all these like little silly jokes about how to remember their names. But it's a good one because then you'll remember them.
Yeah.
So
Hi,
thank you. Hi.
it's Josie.
Hi, Josie.
Hi. So in my career life, for years, I've always been the receptionist and always been the face that people see first coming in the door. I've worked for lawyers, I've worked for real estate agents and broker companies. And being that first face, I quickly learned that because you're the first face they see and they usually come in the door not happy or stressed or lurking in search of something. And so if you're friendly and outgoing and you remember their names, and like Darlene said, you learn little tips on how to remember people's names, but it makes a world of difference for that business.
Mhm.
I'd answer the phone and they say, oh, are you that friendly receptionist? And I'm like, yes. So it was really important. They remember you, and it also is important for the business. So now I'm looking at, it's important to my business that you make that person feel special, that you greet them, that you smile when you're talking. They can hear that you're smiling when you talk.
Mhm.
And it just adds such a value to your business and to your clients on how you make them feel.
Yep, that's awesome. I know I don't know who, maybe it was Dan. He did a training and he said when you're on the phone, smile because they can hear it change in your voice. And I think that he went in the front of the room and we tested it out. So anyways, I started doing that and it actually makes so much difference. And also when you're on the phone with them, not like sounding too salesy, just being like, hey, like how's it going? Like how was your weekend? Like how are your kids? And just like literally asking about their lives.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Aw, you little friendly receptionist. That's awesome. That's so cute. Okay, anybody else want to share? I don't know how much time
Sure,
we
I'll
have,
share.
but okay, hi.
Hello, Blair here.
Hi, Blair.
Yeah, in the last organization I was with, we had lead cards that
All right,
had,
guys, we'll get started in 30 seconds here.
Okay,
30 seconds.
perfect.
Finish up.
we just keep notes, and I keep notes in tab forms on every client, just a little bit about them. And then I always relate their name to somebody else. I put them in a file of all the Adams I know, and when I see them, I always pair them with that other person, and that helps me remember. If you pair them with somebody you really know well, then you'll remember their name. So
That's a good idea. I'm gonna write that down.
Okay.
There. Does anyone else want to go quickly? We probably have about
All right,
15
guys. Well, let's get back to the room here. Turn to your neighbor, give him a high five, and say thank you for the shares. Great job, Zoom.
Thanks.
Awesome,
Thank
guys.
you.
So we'll definitely get some shares because we want to make sure we get through the rest of these guys. We'll get some shares at the end of something that really triggered us into the story. But I mean, guys, it can really change everything. Actually, I was just giving high fives, and then I didn't go to Monica and give the high five, and she was like, ah! I'm like, oh, it's crazy if you don't give that energy back and forth, right? You don't sometimes recognize our, our actions, right? And then Gail was just saying, he's talking about how he used to go to because his other job is waste management. So he goes there every day and he always says, good morning to everybody. And everyone's like, what is this guy on, right? And every day they would joke around and continue to say to him, oh, always just happy guys. Like, why not? We have the best job in the government, right? We have Mondays off, like just like always positive with it, right? And then one day he said he came late and he was a bit scrambled and he wasn't saying anything. And they're like, hey, what's the matter? What's going on? You're not smiling. And he said it triggered him that it really, really changes your, like, you don't know how positive it can be, right? And everybody notices him that he does it every single morning. So it's really, really understanding the impact of these types of things. So we'll get some more shares afterwards, guys. We're going to move on to these three here go a little bit more in depth. that we're going to go through here. Probably a game changer if you can really listen to those. Other ones are a lot of fun. Obviously, being genuinely interested in somebody, smiling, remembering people's names are some really good things that you need to practice and you can really take care of. But be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. So in sales, you're always wanting to get them to talk about themselves. And if you ever want them to break the ice, if somebody's got this is all closed up, you've got to find a way. You're not trying to, okay, I'm going to say the best thing for them about insurance. They're already this way. The reason why they're this way is because they don't like you yet. Sounds weird. What? They don't know you, right? Because if somebody knows you and you know that it's your friend from a long time, what are they? They're in open arms, hugs, all that kind of stuff, right? So if they're like this, you just got to understand, okay, nothing offensive here. They just don't know me yet. So I've got to become likable as quick as possible. Sometimes they're just going to be like that. But the best way is not to continue just to talk about yourself and look for things, right? Oh, like you could start, like the alphabet is there's a lot of words out there and you have to try to go through all of them to find what he is interested in, right? So be a good listener. So when you're asking questions, they're going to give you those answers. And the only way to break down the negative is to continue to ask questions and be a good listener because they're going to give you the clues every time. So ask questions every single time, every day, you name it. It's the biggest part of your business. So always be asking questions because it's going to give you the clue. Again, within 5 minutes, if you continue to just ask questions, it can really, they'll give you the answers for it. Celebrity journalist declared that many people fail to make a favorable impression because they do not listen attentively. They are so concerned that what they are going to say next that they do not keep their ears open. Very important people have told him that they prefer good listeners to good talkers, but the ability to listen seems rather rarer than almost any other trait. Example, a debate. So have you guys ever met somebody that when you're talking to them and they're just looking for the word, or getting in an argument with somebody, let's just put it that way, and they're not listening to a word you're saying, and then you actually mess up on a word and you're just like, well, no, I was talking to my buddy and I'm like at the bar, like, oh, you were at the bar, were you? And I was like, well, I was having a beer. Oh, drinking, you're probably drunk now. Like they're just listening for the things that are against you, right? You ever talk to like a certain person like that? They're looking for those things. So a lot of times out there, people are just waiting to talk, right? So in sales, let's get them to talk. So if you're listening to them and you're just like, you can actually take down things, but you're going to ask more questions to get the more answers out of them. But if those people, if there are people who are doing that, then don't continue to talk all the time because they're checking out. You can almost see it on their face. After the more you talk about and they start going down. The reason why is because you're not asking questions. You're not listening. You're just talking. So understand this is a big thing. In debate, that's all they're doing is they're listening to something and then they're firing back at it. Debate is firing back, right? But if you can be a good listener at it, you're understanding how you can incorporate that back into your conversation. So it has a big example both ways there. Reader's Digest once said, many persons call a doctor when all they want is an audience. A lot of people go to the doctor, this is just the easiest thing, because they just want somebody to listen to them. You know, sometimes you guys have probably sat down with people and they're just telling you the weirdest things that you probably thought you would never ever hear. Like for some reason they think you're a doctor, right? They start telling you some weird fungus on their feet or something. I don't know what's going on, right? The reason why is because you've built such a rapport that people want to talk. People want to feel important. So if you genuinely listen to people, they're going to open up and they're going to want to be your friend. No one's telling anybody about their fungus, right? on their feet unless there's somewhat a rapport. So understand that's probably a good thing and you probably want to move forward quickly through it, right? And understand not to give them any doctor's advice, but this is a true story. A lot of people go to the doctor just to be heard. So when somebody's sitting down with you, maybe no one's listened to them in a long time. And if you understand that, now you obviously want to be making sure you can listen to it and move it on quickly to an action point because you don't want to be there for 4 hours, right? But you also want to understand that they really do want to talk. Everybody wants to talk about what's going on in their lives. A recipe for disaster. So these are things, if you just don't want people, if you want people to shun you, laugh behind your back, or despise you, do these things. And you're probably going to think of people right off. As soon as you see these people, you're like, oh, that's what this person does. And you're actually probably not going to like them that much because they're probably not good listeners and whatnot. But here's the 3. Never listen to anyone for long. Somebody starts talking, try to check out as quickly as possible. This will guarantee you that people will not like you and laugh behind you and despise you and talk behind your back, right? It's never listen to anyone long. It's a crazy trait. Like you can see people, and Gail and I were talking about it. You can just do right to this. you're talking to somebody and you pull this out, you're probably disrespecting them the biggest. I can't take it. I like lose my mind. If I'm talking to somebody and they're just like, oh, got a text. What? I'm like, you know, saying a story and they just got a text from Billy Bob. Like, what? Who cares? But it's kind of crazy, but sometimes we do it. Because now it's a natural thing, because this thing is such a, oh, I gotta check it. Anybody like my Instagram post, right? Oh, I gotta check. And now it's a natural thing. So now be very careful that you put this in your pocket when you're sitting down for a presentation. Because people are like, oh, but Mark, what if it's an emergency? Back in the day, you might not believe this, that we didn't have cell phones like 20 years ago. So what did people do then? Just sit there and worry? What if I have an emergency? No. People moved on with it. So understand that it is, and it can really, really disrespect people if you're not really paying attention. Next one. Talk about yourself repeatedly all the time. Who loves that person, right? Just I did this, I got this story, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody tries to tell you a story like, I got a better one. You know, the one-upper, right? The one-upper, you love them. You give them like your best story. And the next thing you listen to the story and I think they're just making stuff up half the way, right? Then I just jumped on an hot air balloon, and jumped off that, swam into the river, like just trying to make it one up, but they're just talking about themselves. So understand when you're sitting down with somebody, just relate it enough, right, to keep moving forward on it. And then the last one, if you want people to like you, if you have any idea during a conversation, don't wait, bust right in and interrupt in the middle, because that will make friends. You guys ever do that? And somebody says something, just jump right in there. Oh, like you're just, and they're just like, wow, did this guy just really just cut me off in mid-sentence? I'm not even mad, I'm just impressed, right? Who raised this person? But if you have honestly, guys, these are the types of things that if you have an idea, it might, you just want to say it. But that is honestly, it's the people that are talking the most that are usually probably not the most successful, right? Because anybody else knows that it's like, keep your friends closer, enemies even closer. It's just listening at all times. I always call it giving people, it's like Janelle said all the time, show no weakness. Don't give all your weaknesses out, right? When you start talking a lot, you're actually giving information out. When they're talking a lot, what are they giving you? Information. The one that's talking the most is probably the one that is being sold, right? So when somebody asks you a question, we're gonna go over that in the next slide here. It's really huge, but these three things, just try not to. Think all the time. Don't talk about yourself. Relate, but don't talk about yourself in huge stories. All right, talk in terms of other person's interests. This is probably one of the biggest out there of getting friends. If there's nothing to relate about, there's no real point of being friends. Does that make sense, anybody? Like everybody's friends, like people who love football, love watching football. People that love, cooking classes and stuff like that, love doing that. That's why they're friends. They're doing these activities together. You're not gonna find two people that don't like doing certain things that are friends. It's usually there's certain reasons behind it. You are your environment. So if you have people that are, that love to talk long talks and stuff like that, you probably find some other people that love those talks and all that kind of whatever it is, but you have to find the person's interest. So Roosevelt knew, as great leaders know, the royal road to a person's heart is to talk about the things he or she treasures the most. It's probably the best line in this whole book, is to find out what they love and just focus on it. You can change your whole, your presentation, everything like that, if you find out what it is. And guess what we get to do in step 2? Right? Right? Was it form IQ? You're asking questions. So you have to ask yourself, are you just asking questions? Or are you just going through it to get it done? Because when you get to occupation, so I just, if somebody goes like this, hey, I'm a lawyer. I'm like, oh, my brother's a lawyer. Do you know that you just made an actual connection right there? Oh, what kind of law do you practice? Oh, I know, just criminal law. Oh, my brother does just litigation and stuff like that. He practices litigation. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, what firm's he out of? You have made a friend in 10 seconds by just saying that you know somebody else that is in the same profession. Why is that so important? Why is occupation so important? Anybody? It's what they work towards. Dana says it's 98% of their life. It's what people ask when your first question you ask anybody is, what do you do? So understanding their occupation, if you're going through the form IQ and you're like occupation, you're like, so what do you do? Welder? Okay, cool, next. That sounds miserable, right? That's not what we want to do like this. But if I said to the, like, let's say Zach is a welder, oh, you're a welder, fantastic. What do you love about your job? You know, can you ever get in injuries? Oh, you know, this and that. What do you love? You just made this person feel, this is what everybody looks at that person like. That person's a welder. They are to everybody else a welder. So make a big example out of it. Oh, fantastic. My brother's a welder, right? Somebody's a mechanic. I'm always like, my dad's a heavy duty mechanic. My brother's a heavy duty mechanic. What kind of, you know, like, what kind of mechanic are you? Asking those extra questions lights up the game. Monica's husband came in yesterday and he's wearing a UFC thing, right? After we just talked about this. And I was like, oh, you love the UFC? Yeah, I do. Just opens up in 10 seconds. Oh, you know, I actually just watched this documentary on Conor McGregor, and he's like, oh, I'm like, do you love Conor? He's like, yeah. And he's like telling me about how they went to Calgary and got to see a UFC fight. Guaranteed he likes me probably a little bit more because we had that conversation. Because all I had to say is he gave me the clue right there. He's wearing a UFC shirt, right? So be very careful with this, but finding an occupation or something, you're trying to find something that they like so they can be friends. But you don't, and this is the crazy one. This is probably the biggest trick that I'll teach you today. Never, ever sow salt in your eyes. Don't do that. But never have an opinion, ever. You can offend somebody so quick. You're playing with like Russian roulette. It is crazy to have an opinion when you're talking to a client or talking to anybody. I'm telling you, naturally, Al will not have an opinion that does it. You're like, oh, how is Al so nice? Because he doesn't do these things. He's naturally doing this. And we're always talking about, so he can teach other people about this. But if you say an opinion, you don't know which way it's going to go, right? So do not have an opinion, even if you can't wait to say it, right? So it's just like Randy, right? So Randy goes, next thing you know, he asked me a question. So now he's throwing a question at me. If anybody ever throws you a question, it's so funny here. Be vague. Why are you being vague? So you don't know how they feel about it. So if Randy goes to me and goes, hey, do you like football? And I'm like, no, it's junk. It's the worst ever. It's just a bunch of friggin' people getting paid overpaid money for doing nothing. Think these rings mean anything? You know, all that kind of stuff. Next thing you know, Randy's like, I 100% dislike this person. And for some reason, us as people want to be heard, so we just say things like that. But if instead I go like this, even if I don't like football, or I don't know anything about football, he just goes, hey, do you like football? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I love the energy. I love that these are like the top of the top athletes. You know, what's your thoughts on football? And he's like, I love it. It's my favorite sport. About this, I'm like, oh, what's your favorite team? Oh, did you used to play before? Yeah, I used to play all the time. Oh, wow. Did you ever get hurt? You know, did you ever get hurt? Right? You are getting the clues by asking the questions. Did you ever get hurt? But it's funny, but I can alienate myself so quickly. Oh, what's your thoughts on Halloween? I hate Halloween. What do you think about Halloween? I love it. Like the kids, you know. But exactly, somebody asked me, do you like Halloween? Oh, I love it. It's great for the kids. You know, it's great energy. You know, they get a little candy sometimes. You know, what's your thoughts? And then they just imagine they absolutely hate it, right? I didn't say anything negative. I didn't say anything great about it. I'm not going to harp on it, right? I'm not going to, jump on the bandwagon too much. I'm like, yeah, I can see how that could be annoying and you can turn your lights off. But, sometimes it's just for the kids. And then not go, but I'm not going to alienate myself on my opinion on something, right? So everything you do out there, try not to have an opinion. This can actually really change your game, is just be vague, add a little compliment to whatever it is, and find out if they like it. And if they like it, jump on it, because you found something that you now can relate. Even if you don't know anything about football. It's like, oh, do a slam dunk competition. That's not football, right? So you be careful where you're going with. Don't make up stuff, but you want to have fun. Ask them questions. They're going to give you the answers, right? Does that sound good? 100%, guys. You can really, really change your game because you don't even know if you're doing this sometimes. All right. So the last one here, guys. What was number 5 or 6? I think this is the last one. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. So here's the law. Always make the other person feel important. It will bring countless friends and constant happiness. You've got to make that person feel important. So whatever they do, whatever their occupation is that we're talking when you're going through the Forum IQ, whatever their family is, emphasize everything that is about them, because you're going to turn them into a smile. Make the biggest deal out of their job. It is their occupation. It's what they most people consider themselves. So making a big deal about your occupation is great, because they might never even thought about it. Like, they get negativity all the time. Like this, oh, that's fantastic. You're a welder. You guys get paid really well. Are you in town? Oh, even better. You're in town and you do that. Fantastic. Like, a lot of people have to go up north and you're in here. Must be a good one, right? All that kind of stuff, it just makes them like, yeah. And what are they doing with that? Because that means everything, that's their whole persona. They will generally just like you back just that much quicker. What's the great teaching? Anybody know what this is? Probably heard this before somewhere. The great teaching? The golden rule?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do unto others what you want others to do unto you.
Exactly. Monica and Mary, give both these 6 one clap. 100%. Do unto others what you want done unto you. So treat people with respect. You want people to, you know, when you talk about yourself, you want other people talking about you. They want to talk highly of you. Talk highly of other people, and it will come back that way. Dan does a great job of this. He consistently talks highly of other people, always trying to get people in BNIs to, you know, have a referral, all that kind of stuff. And that's why they talk highly of him, because he's going out there and just doing those things. He's not just bombarding and throwing, here, you need insurance. Hey, you need insurance. He's adding value to all these people, because that is what you want to make them feel important. This is their business, right? I remember sometimes sitting down with people and like, it's their first time at a like network marketing company, right? I'm like, oh, that network marketing is junk. It never works. You're never going to make it. What? They don't. You don't know what they're going through. It's their first time they ever looked at entrepreneurship, right? First time I ever looked at network marketing. I know a lot of the fundamentals. I've made money and all that kind of stuff, but it changed my life. So we don't ever want to put down anything. You always want to be able to make that person feel important, whatever they're doing, and your sales will just start flipping up. I promise you on that. The unvarnished truth is that almost all people you meet feel superior to you. A sure way to their hearts is to let them know you recognize their importance and recognize it sincerely. Guys, this is just men in general. Every time we look at each other, it's weird. It's like in our DNA, we're sizing each other up. It's a weird thing. And so you have to get beside them, right? Remember what Mark was talking about? You got to get beside them as quick as possible to become friends, because right across, you're looking at each other and you're sizing each other up. Like, there's some people just hate on you for no reason. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, they haven't even met me. They're just like that kind of stuff, right? Haters gonna hate us because they ain't us, right? All that kind of fun stuff. But recognize their importance and recognize it sincerely, that so then you can be on their friends. Because right now, when they're looking at you, like, how can I beat this person? I'm better than this person. Who does this person think they are? Because they're having their negative things from their own life and their own insecurities, right? You have to understand that that is a very powerful thing. So if they're thinking that they're superior to you or insecure to you, get on their side as quickly as possible and make them feel really important. Talk to people about themselves and they will listen for hours, right? When you start feeding them, they love compliments. They love that their job is great. They love that, you know, what they're doing in life is correct, right? If they're like this, I love playing soccer. Oh, all your kids play soccer? They must be really good. Are you a coach? Yeah, I'm a little bit of a coach. Oh, fantastic. How many years have you been coaching? Going through all these types of things. You're noticing any injuries on the sidelines. Whatever it is, you can keep going with it, but you're having fun with them, but you're talking about them. You're giving them compliments all the time, and you're asking questions, right? All the time. All right, so an action plan here. Exclusive attention to the person who's speaking to you is very important. Again, guys, I'm even talking from all aspects of life. Even when you guys, we have guests, you know, we have people come up here on highlight of the week and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot for some people that haven't spoken in front of the room for a while, right? And if you're sitting there, you're scrolling on your phone or anything like that, you don't even know how, they're not used to that. Like for me, I can, like, most people don't do it that often when I'm here, but if somebody does it, it doesn't bother me, right? But if you're talking to somebody or anything like that, that person in front of the room is like, what? Are they talking mad behind me? Or is that person just texting somebody else saying, this is the worst speech ever? Like, what is going on? And we don't have the care enough just to go, because imagine, if you guys ever see me in there and it's like Paige and Sue, I'm always looking for certain people that are nodding their head. I'm always sitting there nodding my head, taking this. Once in a while, if I get a message about something from Zoom, I have to kind of open it. That's it, but I'm sitting there like this, taking notes, being genuinely interested, and making that person feel important. If I didn't, imagine I just got up and walked out the room. Imagine it was Al Santos doing his highlight of the week, and I'm like, well, this is going to be another good story, right? And I walk out the door. But no, but as soon as you leave or you look at your phone, what are you really saying? So when you're sitting across from that person and you're texting and you're just trying to get out of there as quickly as possible, you're saying that they're not important. And I'm telling you guys, this is, it's such a crazy way, but you can make so many friends and make so many sales because you're doing this. And you generally just can really add this to your game in a big way. Listening is not mere silence, but a form of activity. I love this, is that when you're listening, you're nodding your head, you're agreeing with them, you're smiling, right? If somebody's telling you something about themselves, you want to be having the right like energy towards what they're talking about, right? Especially if they're really, really proud of something. You want to be smiling because it's a form of activity. It's not just being quiet. Ask questions that other persons will enjoy listening. Encourage them to talk about themselves and their accomplishments. We've talked about this many times. Ask the questions that's going to get them excited, right? You want to find out what they love. If Randy loves football, talk about that for like honestly 2 to 3 minutes, because you're going to spend so much time that now you're friends. If you show an excitement in what he loves the most, you're now friends. Simple as that. So even if on Facebook and all that kind of social media stuff, I'm telling you guys, because there's a new part of How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's called Welcome to the Digital Age. It talks about 2 things. One, making sure you're commenting on people's posts and just saying awesome or just a thumbs up or anything like that. It makes the world of difference because you went the extra mile. Number 2, that's what I'm saying, happy birthday to everybody. And number 2, emojis are everything. I didn't understand emojis. I thought they were silly. And now every post I got, you guys see it all the time. I always got smiley faces, thumbs up, double thumbs up, a green check mark. Because imagine I don't put that. And if you see my post, am I just like this? Hey guys, good job, D-Sick. Was he in a bad mood? Because it means everything. So when I'm telling you guys emojis, you can actually, something can always come across wrong on a text. So if you have a little smiley face, it kind of just corrects it quickly, right? Because it looks like a positive text. If it's not, it can come across like very stern or something like that. And it's not somebody's fault, they just don't understand, but there's something powerful behind emojis. Learn what other people's interests are and let them talk about those things. So you're just trying to find what their interests are. Do unto others what you want done unto you. So obviously treat the people all around you the way you want to be treated. It's obviously super easy there. Be kind, be polite, go out of your way to be nice to each person every single day. Just consistently going out there and being nice, especially networking, especially in our game. People will remember you. Remember what Angel just said, everybody knows him for being this positive person in the morning. As soon as he didn't do it for one day, they're like, oh, what's the matter? That's how powerful it is. So you can just, and remember, a lot of people are not thinking like that. He's the only one that talks like that. And they all kind of like, oh, and then they love it because it's positivity. You cannot beat positivity. Who can say anything bad about Al Santos, right? He's always positive, he's always happy, he's always just super nice. Like there's no, but you know what's funny? I'll say the story. So Al jumped onto the whatchamacallit, the Italian trip, right, when he won for Italy. And I was like, whoa, yes, I know Al Santos. But he got on the wild card thing where he had to be, because he actually didn't even join the competition until, because he just joined the company. And he got onto this trip. All those people, every single one of them, I'm going to say to him, like, who's this Al Santos? Jumps on the trip, just a lucky little brat, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, actually, he's one of the greatest people you'll ever meet, and you're going to take that back. And they come back, and then when Al starts talking, he's like, oh my God, I love this person. All these people talked crap about him before. They didn't know him. But every single person, I was like, oh my, I just love this person. I just love this person. I'm like, Al Santos, you are just one gem, right? Because he's just, and then all those people, they speak of Al now, amazing of who he is. Because a lot of these are fundamentally in his system, right? So right now what we'll do, guys, is honestly, we'll get into some shares in a second. We'll jump onto a video. So the video today is, as we won't go too long here, it's just a quick 5-minute video, but it's just kind of based on belief, what you're doing throughout this week here. We'll get some shares. So if you have any shares afterwards, we'll definitely share a few of these things that really stood out with you today. Some quick little story you want to talk about. All right, guys. So on Zoom, it should be in the group already, is it? So just push play on the video. We'll push play here, and we'll come back in a few. All right, Zoom should be back already. So let's just get a few shares today from something you learned just from one of the things today, or something that really triggered something for you today to maybe help out with your game you're gonna put into action, or something you learned from the video that was really eye-catching. So we'll start off in Edmonton, then we'll go to Zoom, we'll get a handful of shares. I'd like to start.
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
So a couple things that I got from the video. First off, actually, I got a lot from training today. I've read that book. Love it. I plan to read it again in the new year as like a fresh refresher to start. So I definitely got a lot out of the training. One thing I realized that I don't do is because I do feel that I'm not the greatest with names. That is something that I'm always working on. I don't use names during presentations. And I don't know if it's because I find that it's weird, or if I'm like, we already know each other. Why do I need to say your name 10 times? But I could, especially if I'm talking to spouses, because if I'm speaking to one spouse and I reference the other spouse, I could use their name. So that's something I'm going to be a little bit more aware of. And then from the video, there's no such thing as failure, just learning. I love that. And I love the last little bit of what he was saying about collapse the fear, about things that are absolutely irrational. Because I totally believe that. If there's actual danger there, for sure, whatever. But, things that are irrational, like the number 13 or anything ridiculous that you're just saying to yourself that's tripping you up, that's awesome. I love it.
Awesome. Big D6 one clap. 100%, guys. I heard that before too, and they talked about even with public speaking. Then run at it. Try and speak in front of as many people as possible. You'll get rid of it within no time, because it's just in your head, right? Again, I used to be a coward of it, and now it's something that I generally don't always want to do, but the same thing is I can do it. So awesome there. Anyone else from Edmonton? Mr. Randy Spencer.
Randy here. Okay. Well, Dana basically said everything I was going to say. So I'm like, yeah. But the last part on the collapsing the fear, something else that I read this past week was basically looking at it as jumping in the pool. Don't walk in, your toe gets cold and then your knees and all the way. Just jump in, deal with it, and then it'll be easier from there on. So
fantastic. Big D6 one clap. All right, let's go to Monica.
So something I just learned, which also goes in terms of the listening, is about preening. So when we are doing, if somebody comes in to a room and it's important, they're important to us, fixing our shirt, making sure our hair is okay, that's actually a really good thing, because it shows them subconsciously. We don't think about it consciously, but it shows them subconsciously that they're important to us. But on the opposite end of it, there's negative preening. So if you're sitting there talking to somebody and they're picking the lint off of their pants, it's totally disrespectful, especially if you got teenagers, right? And so it's an interesting awareness too, when we watch people, if they're doing that kind of stuff, then they're really not listening. And so to make sure we don't do that stuff when we're listening to people.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Big D6 one clap. Yeah, you can't change anybody else, but what you can do, if there's just two people, you can get it to mimic, right? So if you're picking stuff with it everywhere else in your life, or you're always just not paying attention, it's going to show up in your presentations, because it's just the way the universe works. But if you're constantly getting there and you start noticing not doing it, you can it'll over time kind of change. It really is, because you're genuinely engaged. They're going to be genuinely engaged in you, right? So you just have to make sure you can't change anybody, but you can definitely start changing yourself. So great job. All right, let's go to Zoom. Let's get a share or two.
Good morning, everybody. It's Kathy. So, Mark, I really appreciated what you said about almost all people feel superior to you. Let them know you recognize their importance and recognize it sincerely. That has always been a very huge trigger in my life. I'm a really, really nice person, and I get along with almost everybody, but it's a trigger for me when somebody comes off as all superior. And my first instinct is to slap them down. So you gave a really, really, really good suggestion there in play with it, and entertain it and validate them is a much better idea than slapping them down. And it helps to build relationship. And I think what will end up happening is that they will then turn and see you as someone important in their life. So thank you for sharing that, because as soon as you said it, I felt immediate resistance. And then I thought, okay, think this through. And so I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome, Kathy. Fantastic. You know, it's just a big realization. D6 one clap. Honestly, guys, when I read this book, I had to change everything. And if you, even if you took this training today and you decided not to listen or whatever it is, you're just going to continue to go out there and just be the bull that you are, nothing's going to change. These are the secrets of some of the top people out there. You always look at the top people that just listen and do that kind of stuff. So great job, Kathy, because they're just, it's not everything. A lot of us are doing these things. They're like, oh, I smile, I do these things, but could we just get a little bit better at it is all the question, right? Just to tweak it just a little bit. So great job, Kathy. All right, let's go to another one on Zoom.
I can go. So just what you're saying about like tweaking what you do, it's if you want things in your life to change, you have to change things in your life. And I've read How to Win Friends and Influence People numerous times, so I love it. And just talking about like if we sit down with somebody, or not even just sitting down, but we see something, we see somebody doing something and we don't like it, I always think, how can I learn to love that person? Even if I don't know that, I don't mean love in like a sexual or relationship, anything like that, but I just mean, how can I love them more? Because literally we are mirrors to each other. So if I see somebody doing something, like maybe they're too loud, that's irritating me, or maybe they're like talking on a story that is irritating to me, I just turn around and I say, how can I learn to love them more? And what don't I like about myself? What can I see that I don't like in myself from that person? If that makes sense. It's kind of like a mirror. So if they're, like I said, if they're being too loud, I'm like, okay, sometimes maybe then I can be too loud. So I'm like, okay, then maybe I could work on that. Or like, I always turn it around back on me, so I can always be learning and changing things that I do in my life. I'll just talk about some of the stuff that we talked about in the group today. Someone said that they spelled their, or Darlene said she spells their name out. She gets them to spell their name out when she asks them what their name is, just so she can kind of remember that. And she kind of pairs them. So she said her neighbor's name is Brad, and she talks about how he has a bad knee. So she goes bad knee, Brad, and that type of stuff. Someone else said that it's always good to be friendly, outgoing, and remember their name. It's a good quality. Blair said if you're meeting somebody for the first time, pair them with somebody that has a similar name. He says he pairs all the Adams together if he knows an Adam, or like a Mark or a Dana, you know what I mean? Like pair somebody that they have the same name together so that you connect them with them at the same time. And I think that's it. I wrote so many notes, but I won't go through them, but that's all.
Awesome, Janelle. Fantastic. Big D6 one clap. And we all know that Janelle is, you know, subconsciously is doing a lot of these things. She's always smiling. She's always having fun. She's genuinely interested in people. And then she's actually catching herself when she is getting irritated, because it's always a mirror to ourselves, right? One of the best things I've ever heard is you are exactly where you are in life, happy, successful, rich, or anything like that, because you are the person.
But I'll never show, people will never see me angry, I don't think. Like I know, I call you, and then I'm like, these people. But other than that, no, we'll never see it.
100%. D6 one clap. You know what's funny on that one, Janelle, is when I was talking, you just jumped in there and interrupted. And
I am sorry.
Well, but it's so funny because too, when it happens, you're like, oh, did that just happen? So we planned this, guys. Don't worry about it. But thanks for role playing with me on that one and making me feel bad. All right, so let's go to the next person.
Anytime.
Hello. Hi.
Hi there.
So, great training, Mark. I just wanted to add that all of this stuff is really about perception. Perception's everything. Like if you haven't been doing any of these simple things like showing enthusiasm, smiling, asking questions, just try it. Like you'll get results immediately and it'll start to work right away. And another thing on top of that is there are going to be days where you don't feel like smiling or you don't feel like, you know, being enthusiastic. But the reality is when it comes to perception, people only see the energy that you show to them. So even if you're not feeling like it at all on the inside, you can still externally show a smile, you can still show enthusiasm, and that's what people will perceive you as. It doesn't matter what you're feeling on the inside. So even on your off days, these are simple tricks and tools that you can use no matter how you're actually feeling on the inside. And like Mark said, when you actually are doing these things externally, smiling and showing enthusiasm, it actually does bring your internal energy up. So it is, you know, perception's huge and the energy you put towards your actions in these types of things, it becomes second nature when you do it long enough. So just if you keep practicing, if it feels awkward or off, definitely just keep practicing on it. It'll start to feel natural and people will start to gravitate to you way more. That's all.
Awesome, Dan. Fantastic. Big D61 clap. He's right, guys. It's to be even self-aware that you might not be perfect in all these things. Because if you were perfect on these things, then you'd have, you know what I mean? It's just to always tweak it and get it much better, but really to practice these things. Practice just smiling during a presentation. Practice not maybe being as much of a talker and trying to convince them by just asking them, right? So an idea is like, you know, if somebody's like a pitch, I think it's very hard to pitch somebody if it's like one-on-one when you're networking, right? Don't you even feel weird when you're pitching it? You're like, oh, it's no accident insurance, you know, it's hospitalization, it's amazing, you know, and there's like, you can almost feel them like, oh, where's this going? But you can, instead of just going, yeah, it's accident and sickness insurance, hospitalization, you know, if you get hurt, we actually pay you and we'll get you, you know, compensated. You're almost like, it's like you're convincing them, right? But instead of saying that, you could just be like this, you know what, it's accident and sickness, hospitalization insurance. Actually, you know what, the best way to explain this, have you ever been hurt before? Or do you know anybody in your family that's ever been hurt? And they're like, yeah, actually. I'm like, oh, what happened? You broke your leg? Oh, I broke your leg. Did you have to go to the hospital? Yeah, you had to get a cast? Perfect. Well, actually, we would actually pay you and compensate you for doing that. So what you've done now is you've listened to what they've done, you found the thing, and now you can gear towards your presentation towards it by just asking questions and relating it to them. So then they can have a feeling. But if you're just talking, they're just like, oh, what's he selling me? He's selling me, or is it what's happening? So asking them a quick question when you're going out there and networking all the time, somebody asks you what you do, just like, you know, actually, I'm in insurance and it's specialization in hospitalization insurance. You know, actually the best way of explaining is, you ever been hurt or anybody around you been hurt or sick before and had to go to the hospital? And now you have a conversation instead of just trying to pitch them all the time, right? So that's a great job, Dan. Fantastic. All right, any other shares across the board here?
Could I add a little bit? I know it's a little bit late. It's Mary here. Thank you so much, Mark. I just would like to acknowledge Theresa. Theresa, your energy is so high and I love it. And thank you for sharing how busy you are. We are very inspired of seeing your energy this morning. I also like how Frank said he is amazed how people trust him. So he's probably doing all this. He is genuinely interested to them, smiling and remembering them. So I'm very, very happy to hear that. And then perception is everything. I love it. Video, belief. Yes, we all believe about the opportunity that we have. But as the speaker or the video said, we need to back it up with hard work. So even if we believe and we don't work, then there's really no production, no result, no nothing. So thank you for that video. And Mark, I really, at some point, I may be guilty of this training that you brought. But I do believe that it is not too late for everybody here, that this is not just meant for us in meeting our clients, in prospecting, but this has to do as well with how we are actually maximizing our attendance in the Zoom training. Because our Zoom training is actually a training ground for us to become really good listeners. Because whoever is actually standing in the front here training us has actually prepared so much time, energy, and effort. Dana doing the slides and everything. Even the highlight of the week, putting so much energy to share their nuggets of wisdom to us. And you could see some people on their phones, lead hunting and stuff like that. We are defeating the purpose of attending the Zoom training if we are on our phones. So please, I hope this is kind of creating awareness to everybody and even to myself. Thank you, Mark, for bringing this up.
Awesome, Mary. Fantastic. Big D61 clap. 100%, Mary. I mean, it's just awareness, right? That's the key to success in anything. So just understanding that, you know what, you might be good at one or two of these things, but you might be able to work on the other ones. Because honestly, if you're good at all 6 of these things, you probably have referrals coming out of the yin yang and everything like that, because you can always tweak it. You can always get better, because asking questions, not talking so much, doing the form IQ by just getting excited about what their occupation is, right? And even always at the end of the trainings is always to take something and put it into action. That's the whole point of the trainings. It's the best respect you can have when Dan comes up here and he does a training is to go put it into action that day, right? Not to be like, oh, I'm going to continue to do my way, because guaranteed we can all improve, because we're all not making $5-10 million a year. and it's possible here. So we can always be improving and getting better, right? So great job, everybody. All right, we're gonna go one more quick one from Monica.
I would just encourage everybody to actually read this book, and over Christmas would be a perfect time, because it really will transform everything about your business and about your relationships in general. And I think I read this book about 16 years ago, and I went through the course twice.
Mm-hmm.
But the things in the book, that some of them that we talked about today, I remember, and I implement, and I'm so conscious of doing those things. Like, a person's name is the sweetest thing that that they'll hear. So, and it really does make a difference in relationships. So that's my challenge. Read the book over Christmas and see the difference that it makes next year in your
100%.
business.
T6 one clap. Best way to say, guys, honestly, just this really could change your whole game here. Go through it, practice it, get the audio book of it, listen to it all the time in the car, because you're just going to hear the same thing over and over again. And there's a new digital age one that's going to talk about emojis and actually commenting on things and stuff like that. It can really, really change your business in a big, big way. All right, guys. So, finish up for this, and just a little bit on the confidence things. It's just like I just had an analogy today. I just had winter tires on the car, and I got to the gym, and the guys are like, "Oh, you and your convertible little sports car, how's that going to do out there, fella?" And they're all like joking around, right? So I went in the corner and cried for a few minutes, but and called the cops. But I was like, oh yeah, no. I'm like, you know what? I'll match you outside right now. Let's go outside. We'll go to the car. And because I'm so confident in those winter tires, right? It's like having winter tires is a lot to do with, it's a weird analogy, but it's confidence. Because when you have those winter tires on, you're like, I don't have a problem cutting into traffic, right? You're still cautious because the snow's a lot. But when you don't have winter tires on, you're like, oh, I shouldn't even go out today. I shouldn't do anything today. Should I even cut across traffic? Should I stop? You're all cautious. But when people have winter tires on, you can tell those people. They're just flying past people. They're like, oh, I got winter tires, like all that kind of stuff. It's that kind of thing of confidence. If you can't go out in the street, that's why you got to be equipped with the right tools. So everybody gets winter tires, but outside of that, practice these skill sets, get better at your game. So when you sit down with people, if you perfect all these things, that you can change any appointment into a very positive thing. It doesn't have to be a sale, but at least you had a great experience with them, and they'll remember that and maybe give you some referrals. That's the whole point of the game, right? So with that, guys, let's have a huge, huge week this week. It's the end of the cycle. Let's push for it. It's Ardmore. Making sure everybody, if you want to be on the Ardmore team, you message your SL right now, because we have to get the team out there going. Let's have some fun with this week. You know what? We're going to do Winner Score Wednesday again. So anybody has a winner score by 12 o'clock on Wednesday this week will also get an extra prize. That could be something different, could be something new, but we'll have Winner Score Wednesday again, so by 12 o'clock, and we'll give out those prizes on Thursday. Let's go out there and do something big. Let's hit the 500K. Let's have some fun, and then I'll go celebrate in Vegas. Guys, with that, we are District 6N. We got this. We're District 6N. We got this. We're District 6N. We got this. Turn your neighbor, give them a high five, and say, we got this. Great job, everybody. Great shares, everybody. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Anytime.